You are tuned in to the Gift of Gab podcast, a podcast where we are intentionally growing, accepting, and becoming the best version of ourselves. We focus on all things healing, wellness, spirituality, self-development, and bettering our relationship with ourselves and others. In every episode, we'll be reflecting on lessons learned through past experiences, setting goals, and helping each other reach our fullest potential. I am your host, Gabrielle Ariana, and welcome to this week's episode. Hello, you guys. Welcome back to the Gift of Gab podcast. We are growing, accepting, and becoming the best versions of ourselves over here. I'm your host, Gabrielle Ariana, and I hope you guys are having an amazing day, an amazing year, amazing remainder of the year. We have surpassed our 6-month mark. We're going into the 7th month of this year, so I'm just praying that it's bringing everyone bliss, goodness, all positive vibes, and just prosperity, abundance, and all the beautiful things you can receive out of life. So let's just get right into it. Today we are going to be talking about really holding ourselves accountable and just starting that thing, implementing whatever it is you want to implement in your life, or doing whatever it is that you've been saying that you wanted to do today, and stop pushing it off until tomorrow. And so as we go into the 7th month of the year, I have heavily been reflecting on just all the things that I was like, oh, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. And then I'm always finding myself like, oh, well, I'll just do it tomorrow, or I'll just do it later, and continuously pushing it back and pushing it back and pushing it back to the point where you're just putting it to the back burner and you're not really bringing it to the forefront until it kind of crosses your mind. And then you're like, oh yeah, this is something that I want to do, or this is something that I wanted to start, or this is a place that I wanted to go to, but I could just do it, tomorrow, or I'll just do it later. And I just kind of want to talk about that because although in the onset of me starting this podcast, I talked about briefly how this podcast is something that I kept pushing off, like, oh, I'm going to do it, and whatever, until I finally just did it. And so my tomorrow became today. So let's just talk about how, instead of saying tomorrow, or later, how about we do it now? And I kind of want to just get into that. So for myself, I feel like this new month, so this is going to be airing on the 1st of July. So that's amazing. That's just great because it's perfect for us to all collectively decide today's the day that we're going to do it. We're not going to push it off till tomorrow. We're going to start today. We're going to do it right now because it's that easy, right? And I think there's a lot of things that I feel like I've been like, oh, I'm going to do it. And I never actually get to it, just because it's like when you're someone who has so many things that you want to do, or you want to attain or accomplish or even strive towards, it gets very overwhelming to the point where you're like, okay, well, I can always push it off and do it eventually, but you never actually get to the thing. You never actually start the routine or implement whatever it is you want to implement into your life. For myself right now, it's being very diligent on pouring into myself and really actually being mindful and intentional with my spirituality, my self-care, my self-maintenance, physically, emotionally, mentally, spiritually, financially, like all of the leads. That's right now my thing that I'm just really trying to like get very diligent on. And I keep finding myself like, oh, I'm going to start implementing, strictly drinking only water, like out of the water, or just eating raw fruits and vegetables tomorrow. I'm going to start the beginning of the next month. And then by the time that comes, it's like, oh, I messed up on the 1st or 2nd of that month. So I'm just like, I'm just going to start fresh, do what I got to do, get it all out my system now, and start over in the next month to come. And that's when I'm going to really do it. And I'm kind of over me continuously telling myself that I'm going to do something and not actually keeping up my own word and doing it, because I'm actually really big in keeping your word. And I found myself, because I'm a recovering people pleaser and someone who has always been a yes man to everyone else and pouring into everyone else, because of that, it resulted in me always pushing whatever I wanted or needed at any given moment to the back burner. So anytime I wanted to implement something into my life, anytime I wanted to really try to do something or start something, if someone else's issue or something arose, I would say, you know what, I can handle not doing what it is that I want to do now. Let me help this person do what they need to do. And so I actually found myself in that same little mindset now, because I'm right now pouring into other people. And I'm going back into this, trickling down to these old ways of doing and these old habits and stuff that wasn't serving me in a way that was really allowing me to pour into myself first. And on one of my previous episodes, we talked about self-care, not self-care. We talked about pouring into yourself, being selfless versus being selfish, but how you have to be selfish to be selfless. And so I'm now on this point where accountability is like your best friend when it comes to really, implementing things into your life and actually doing the things you say that you're going to do, and allowing yourself to be honest with yourself and keep your own word and put whatever it is that you want or need before the wants and needs of other people, because this is your life that you're living. No one else has lived it or experienced it besides you. And you want to make sure that you're being very intentional with it and very nurturing and caring to yourself. And I found myself not doing that. And it's not even to say it's because of other people. It's really because just me. Honestly, it's like everything that I've already talked about up to this point is slowly like coming full circle to where it's like, okay, how are you going to maneuver in this situation? Because are you going to be the product of your environment? Are you going to be the innovator of your narrative? And it's crazy because that's one of my previous episodes that now I found myself like, okay, what are you doing, Gabrielle? Are you being the product of your environment? And is this in alignment with you, wanting to do these things for yourself and implement these things in life? Yes or no? And it hasn't been. So I've definitely been falling off on my routine and just doing the things that I've been saying that I'm going to do. And so I feel like, this new month, this is July now, this is the perfect time to really just do it, go all in, and just allow, of course, room and the space for God to do what God is going to do with the universe, whatever higher source you look up to, and do that thing that you keep pushing off for tomorrow. Instead of trying to say tomorrow, let's do it today. Let's start today. For July 1st, I'm going to challenge myself to really, I want to work on my mindset shifting and really get into this mindset of just abundance and prosperity, and just knowing that I don't have to worry about anything in life and how things are going to pan out, and just be trusting and have full faith of like, I know that everything is working out for me. I know that everything is divine timing and alignment. And I know that I'm always at the right place, the right divine place at the right divine time. And, nothing is happening against me. Everything is happening for me, not to me. And the things that are happening to me are for my highest good at all times. And so it's hard to put yourself in that mindset when you're coming from a space of always being in the survival of the fittest, survival mode, a scarcity mindset, never having things, always lacking, not having stability, a support system. And I've come from all those things. So I am actively still, and it's definitely a journey, and it's going to take a lot of time. And I'm only just now starting to be very intentional and like diligent and proactive with doing these things and being more mindful of the stuff. So, it's taking some time, but I do want to be a little bit more uniform as I continue on my life, and just making sure that I'm not only acknowledging the things that I need to work on myself, but I'm also taking accountability by taking action on doing something different. So I'm not like, it's easy to acknowledge the thing itself at hand and say this thing or this person or this place or this situation isn't servicing me, or it's resulting in me being this type of person and being this way, or not having this thing. The first thing you can always do with any type of situation in life in general is just acknowledge it. That's like the easiest thing you can do. What's very hard, and where that intentionality comes in at, or work, what people would say, is to actually then, okay, accountability. How can I act? The 4 letters of accountability are ACCT. So act, right? How can I act? What can I do differently? And what can I do now instead of trying to push it off to later? Because it's so easy to get distracted and get defeated too, when your world around you is just not what you have envisioned for yourself. It's not where you thought you would be in life. And I promise you, and I trust me when I tell you, like, that's how I feel. I feel like a lot of people feel that way. And I honestly think it's a part of our life and our journey to feel that way, because I feel like we're supposed to feel that way. We're supposed to feel like, damn, this is not what I created for myself. This is not where I would envision myself being in life. But the beauty in that is the fact is, had you end up in the place or your life turned out how you envisioned it, would you really have grown? Would you really have evolved and have gained so much knowledge and wisdom and things that you can really pour into other people to help them on their journey, had you not had the life and the experiences that you have experienced? So, you know, I feel like it's very, it's just like a catch-22 in a sense, because it's like, damn, this is not what I wanted. This is not what I envisioned. However, what I did receive out of life is also like, I'm still here, you know, I've still experienced all these things and I've learned all these things, but I would have preferred to have experienced it a different way. But you know, with life, you're going to experience life how it's meant for you to experience it. And the most that we can do in our life is just be intentional and hold ourselves accountable to the best of our abilities. And so that's what I want to do today, and that's what I want to continue on doing the remainder of this year, is be very intentional and actually act on the things that I want to do, which is the root of accountability. And don't push it off until tomorrow. Just start it today. And so today I'm going to do like a 30-day challenge beginning on today. Really, I want to say 30 days, but I'm going to, you know, give myself minimum 30 days. I'm learning that it's important to dissect things into smaller, you know, parts, like a puzzle, to put them together, and then you get to see the big grandiose picture. And yeah, I have a lot of things that I want to do this month, and that is just being intentional with my, you know, what I'm eating, intentional with my health, intentional with what I'm speaking, how I speak to myself, how I speak to others, obviously. But truly, like, these next 5 months of this year is all about me and this 180 that I am continuously actively doing. And that's just, you know, me really just doing a metamorphosis and changing to this person that I am going to be so proud of to look at in the mirror. Although I'm very proud of the person I'm looking at now in the mirror, because it's important to acknowledge who you are now, accept who you are now, because like I say, the person you are now is the person you need to be the person that you're becoming. And you know, you can still be very intentional in between that time of the person you are now to the person you're becoming on how you move. And so I just feel like, you know, we are in the space of like, what now? What can I do? Right? And there's so many things you want to do. There's so many things that you can do that you're like, well, let me just push it off. However, I do know there's things in life that takes time, and sometimes it's best for you to just push it off and say, I'm gonna do it later, or I'm gonna do it tomorrow. However, whatever it is that you can do now that you've been saying that you've been wanting to do, just do it, right? Like, I know fear in thinking like, oh, I don't know how it's going to turn out. I don't know what's going to happen. I don't know if people are going to receive it or how they're going to receive me doing this thing. You have to get rid of all of those thoughts. Anything external from you, you have no control of. You can't control how someone's going to perceive you. You can't control how someone is going to react to what you're doing, or even how people are when you start changing within yourself to the point where it's like, well, this is how I am now. Can you accept me or can you not accept me? Right? You have no control over any of those things. So all you have control of is what you can do now in the present moment. So why not just do it now? Why not just start the podcast, start the YouTube channel, start the business, you know, start working out, start eating healthier, go travel, go to this place, go do that, go do this thing, whatever it is that you're saying, like you feel like you can't do, or that you're continuously finding yourself pushing to the back burner because it's a part of you that's like fearful of actually doing the thing. Just do it, right? Like Nike, just go for it. You know, I feel like 50% of life of success is actually trying, right? You have to actually try for you to get that much closer to succeeding at something, is to actually go out and do it. And so today's my start of actually being very intentional, even more intentional than I was before, and holding myself accountable, and I do want to like actually give y'all updates throughout each episode of like how I feel throughout this entire month of me, you know, setting goals and things like that. And so the goals that I'm setting for myself for this overall month is, again, like I said previously, is just shifting my mindset, really trying to get out of this mindset of not even because I feel like I'm out of it, but it still like creeps up on me every so often where I'll be like worrying and things like that. And I don't want to be in a state of worry. I don't want to be in a state of stress. All I want to be is in a state of bliss, of blessings, of abundance, prosperity, just beautifulness, goodness, greatness, knowing that everything is always, you know, going to work out, because everything does always work out, literally. You know, I feel like it's important to resort to the evidence of the things that has happened to you in your life that has reassured you along the way in your journey of like, oh, I know that by me stepping out and actually doing something results in something positively happening for me in my life because I've done X, Y, and Z before, right? So like, for example, I am very, I'm going to say fearful, but like, it's hard for me to put myself out there and to just, you know, do things that I've never done before. But when I look back on my life, or also do things that I've never seen other people do, that's in like proximity to me, that's in arm length with me. I feel like when you are the first person or the trailblazer of someone who's doing something new or starting something different that's in comparison to the people that you surround yourself with, or even in your family even, it's kind of scary because it's like I don't have no one to kind of look to for advice. I don't have someone to look to see how, you know, their journey looked doing that thing or starting that thing or trying to strive towards it. So you're kind of going into it blind. But if you can sit and reflect on your life, like, but I did this, right? Like for me, I moved all the way from Minnesota to Texas by myself. No support, no money, no nothing. No, like I went to college, but I came out here by myself. I didn't have no support system. I didn't know anyone out here. I didn't know anything about anyone, nothing. And it has turned out very beautifully for me. And it was not written in my picture. Like it wasn't what I envisioned for myself. Coming to Texas was not something I envisioned for myself. However, that's what God envisioned for me. That's where I'm at now. So it's like I can reflect back and say, yeah, this is what I thought I wanted to do, or this is the time where I was scared to do this thing, but look how it turned out. So I can literally reflect on my life in this present time and see like your present moment that you're in now is all the evidence that you need to let you know that, to reassure you that whatever it is that you're wanting to strive towards, or whatever it is that you feel like you can't do or you're scared of doing, to just do it, because it's going to turn out much better than you could ever envision for yourself. It's going to turn out so much better. It can open so many doors for you. And you have to look and resort to the evidence of the times in your life when you just did something and you didn't think twice about doing it. You didn't think about pushing it off. You just did it and it worked out in your favor. And even if there's times where it didn't work out in your favor, you still learn from something from that experience. And so that's what I've pretty much been doing, is just reflecting on, like, you know, the last time I really poured into myself and was very intentional with me and, you know, what I was doing, my routines, and doing the things that I said that I've been planning on doing, being creative. How did that work out for me? How did I feel? It resorted unto me doing this podcast. And I feel amazing doing this podcast, because it's like I, for so long, almost 2 years, had this idea, was putting things together for it, and not even actually acting on it, but low-key was still acting on it, because I feel like I said, there's this thing that you're like, you're pushing it off, but as you push it off, you're kind of still pouring into it, or you're putting something towards it. And that was me with this podcast. I was continuously pushing it off, but as I kept pushing off, like releasing it, I would still like, oh, I want to talk about this thing, and I'll kind of create a diagram of what I want to talk about, or how I want to lay out the episodes, or etc., right? And so much to the point where all those little small things that I did resulted into this puzzle and this picture of my podcast. And the last time I was really diligent, I'm like, you know what, I'm just gonna do it and stop saying tomorrow, because that's all I kept doing with this podcast, was pushing it off. So I finally did it. And then when I did it, I was like, wow, I have like a weight lifted, and it feels great, because now it's materialized. There's this thing. And there's so many other, like, you know, examples I could use where I pushed something off on doing it until I finally just said, you know what, we're just going to do this thing. And it turned out beautifully. And I learned from the experience in some capacity, right? So I feel like I want everyone to really just sit and think like, you know, what is it in my life? And it doesn't have to be some grandiose thing of like, I want to go across the country and move and something like that. Or I want to, you know, start this business or whatever. It could be something very small of just, I want to finally take some time aside and just go outside and be with myself and not, you know, be so consumed by the world, because I know that's like challenging for a lot of people, is that we in this technology driven world and social media driven world that it's just like so hard to disconnect from that thing. Or even if you can disconnect from those things, you're just always around people. So it's just like, you know, just be away from someone, take some time up to yourself and just not do anything at all. It's hard to just not do stuff now, I feel like. And that's another thing that I really want to like dive into. That'll be its own like episode of just resting and things like that. But what is it that you want to just do that you've been pushing off? And I feel like for me heavily, it's been really like disconnecting from the world, disconnecting from social media, disconnecting from technology, TV, all that stuff, even the comfort of my own home, just disconnecting from that. I'm such a homebody that I'm just like, I want to be outside, but it's like, girl, it's hot it's hot out here, y'all. It's hot. It's so hot. So it's just like disconnect from even that. And I actually am recording this right now, disconnected from my home in the AC where it's cool. I am actually at a park outside, you know, taking in all this beautiful air and nature and doing the very thing that I kept pushing off doing. So the beginning of this month and remainder of this year, let's all collectively just really set some goals. And it don't have to be super big, you know, however small you can do it. Even if it's something as small as I want to drink 4 bottles of water a day. I want to make sure I drink at least 4 bottles of water a day. Or I want to make sure I at least eat a piece of fruit, a piece of vegetable each day, or work out for 10 minutes a day, walk outside for 10 minutes a day, get outside for 5 minutes, whatever it is, meditate for 5 minutes when I wake up. Whatever that thing is, it can be something grandiose as well, you know. I'm going to put the business out there. I'm going to do whatever, right? And grandiose or small, it's all going to be, you know, tailored to you, what you deem big, what you deem small. I'm just throwing out of whatever's coming to my head at the time. But instead of pushing it off till tomorrow, just do it today. Just do it now and just keep on doing it. And I promise you, those small baby steps are so much bigger than you feeling like you have to take a big, huge step of something. And I think it's because we get so lost in trying to really paint the picture of how to measure something, right? I feel like measuring success happens over time, not overnight. And because we live in a world where people just do things overnight and it's like it's instantly being received by so many people and it can result in so many different things positively, that it's automatically deemed successful. However, you know, don't look at it that way. Don't feel like, oh, I'm only worked out 10 minutes a day, but I haven't lost any weight. But like, let's pay attention to how are you feeling now that you've been implementing moving your body for 10 minutes fully every single day this month versus before when you weren't moving your body at all. Do you have an influx of energy, right? Do you find yourself wanting to actually work out more than 10 minutes a day? Do you find yourself now like, oh, I can intake 5 to 6 bottles of water a day now and it's fine, versus me starting off at the 4? I feel like it's important to not get so lost in the measurements of success of whatever it is that you're trying to, you know, implement or attain out of life and things like that. And those are just some things that you can actually measure. There's going to be other things that can be immeasurable right then and there, and you don't realize you know, actually have grown in some aspect until later on. But whatever that thing is that you want to do and that you've been kind of pushing off starting, just do it now. Like there's no point in waiting. And I feel like it's just, don't get so wrapped up in feeling like you have to start at the beginning of something either, because you can always even do it at same day. Like there's been times where I would be like, oh, I'm gonna just wait. Like I said, like this episode ironically is being released on the 1st of this month, which is perfect because it's like, oh, it's the 1st. You know, people want to start things on the 1st, but hell, even if you start today, right? And let's say you kind of fall off by the 7th or something like that in a week's time, and you're like, dang, I stopped doing this thing, or I started and I was doing pretty good at it, but then my momentum went down. So it's like, I'm gonna just start fresh again on the 1st. It don't feel like you have to do that. Like, you can always at any moment just uproot and just do something different in your life. So like, even if you listen to this today and you're like, nah, I don't want to start today, I could do it tomorrow, which is, it's contradicting because it's tomorrow, what about today, right? But if you know, like, starting on tomorrow and being diligent on it, or if you're listening to it on the 2nd or the 3rd or the 4th, whatever the case may be, just do it right now. Just start it. Like, just do whatever it is you're wanting to do, because trying to wait and push something off to the back burner is not, one, it's a bad habit that you're continuously enabling. And I noticed that was something I was doing, is that I keep my word with other people, but I never kept my word to myself. And it's like, thinking back on it, it's basically like, well, how the relationship you have with yourself is a direct reflection of the relationship that you have with other people. And it's like, if I'm always putting myself to the back burner and I'm always putting someone else's needs and things before myself, and I'm always keeping the words of other people before my own, that's a direct reflection of my relationship that I have with myself. It's like, I don't really think of my own self. I don't do anything for myself. And I'm so quick to just minimize or dismiss what it is that I want to do or needing to do or wanting out of a relationship or out of life, because I'm trying to be someone, or because I'm wanting to help someone else do and be whatever it is that they want out of life. And you don't want to be that person that is always pushing your own self to the back burner and putting everyone else's needs and wants before yours. You want to be you want to be the person that can pour into yourself, be there for yourself, and show up for yourself the way that you will show up for other people. And that starts by doing whatever it is you want now, and stop telling yourself, oh, I'm just going to do it tomorrow, or I'm just going to do it later. Do it now. And I promise you, you're going to feel so much better when you finally do that thing, because it's like, you already put so much energy towards thinking about doing it and not actually doing it, to the point where it's like, I could just push it off because I already have in mind how I'm going to go about doing it, or what I'm going to do when I start this thing or implement this thing in my life, that when I actually do it, I can go full throttle. I can just be into it 100%. But it's never going to be 100% if you're continuously pushing it back. That's always going to keep you at 0. Trust me. Because I've got so much in my head to the point where I would think about doing something that, to me, thinking about doing it was actually doing it, but it's never materializing. But I'm like, well, I have in mind what I'm going to do when I finally start working out every day, or start going to the gym every day, or start, meditating and start eating right. I know what foods I'm going to eat when I actually do it. So it doesn't matter. I could just start it, later on, because I know what I'm going to be eating. I'm going to meal prep. I'm going to do all those things. But then when I actually start to actually do the thing, like, let's say, meal prep and eating more healthy foods, I'd be like, oh, damn, what did I say I was going to do? Oops, I'm going to just do it tomorrow. I'm going to just figure it out later, because now it's like the point where I'm not prepared for it. And you're never going to be fully prepared for something until you actually do it and you get into the preparation as you're doing that thing. So if you're wanting to work out more, no one's ever really prepared to work out and how that's going to affect your body unless you're actually working out to see how it's going to affect your body, right? You're not going to know how starting a podcast is going to feel until you start the podcast and realize, oh, this is what it's like to do the podcast. Because for me, I am on YouTube. And so editing videos is not the same as editing a sound and editing your voice. You have to listen all the way a couple of times, truly. It's a complete different process. And so I kept in my head like, oh, I have a YouTube. I know how to edit videos on YouTube or TikTok and stuff like that. So I could treat that just like the same as editing a podcast, which in a sense kind of, but not really. It's not the same, because I'm going into this, I'm like, oh, this is actually kind of different. So yeah, when I finally put it out there, I really put it out there because I'm like, okay, now that you put it out there for people to see, you have to really hold yourself accountable and take action now and edit these things and start recording. And it's a complete different process. Trust me, it's a complete different experience. So I didn't really learn the thing and the ways in which I'm going to approach it until I actually did it. So I wasn't fully prepared, no matter how much I try to prepare myself, until I'm actually doing it, because I learn as I do things. And so whatever it is you want to implement to your life, for me, it's just being very intentional with myself, really pouring into myself, and that's my physical, emotional, spiritual, personal, the relationships, mental, spirit, all those, my health. Like, I want to really be very diligent with that. And that's me, picking apart each of those sectors of my life and reevaluating, okay, on this day, how am I feeling in this area of my life? Okay, so this is what I can do now differently so that I can feel more secure, feel more safe, and make sure I'm being more intentional in that area of my life. So whatever it is that it is for you, whether it's spiritual, your personal experiences, physical, your body, your health, your mental health, your relationships, financially, whatever that is, it's obviously going to be one of those categories. What is it in those categories? If all of those categories that you've been saying that you wanted to start and wanted to do or implement that you haven't done yet, just do it now. Like, there's no point of waiting. It's going to be so much more rewarding when you finally do it and realize, like, oh wow, this is what I've been having to look forward to, and now I'm experiencing this thing, and it feels good because I finally did something that I said I was going to do. It's very important that we stick to our word and we pour into ourselves and stop pushing our needs and wants to the back burner and just do it now. So I hope this is very beneficial to whoever is listening, and I hope you guys set y'all's goals on whatever it is you're wanting to attain. And whatever it is you want to do, just do it today, and it's going to pay off. You're going to feel so much more rewarding down the line, even now in this moment. And let's just make the rest of this year a beautiful one, an intentional one, and a beautiful, blessed, and blissful one. Thank you guys so much for listening. Thank you so much for tuning in to this week's episode of the Gift of Gab podcast. Be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at @thegiftofgab_pod. I will speak to you all next week. Thank you guys so much. Continue to grow, accept, and become someone greater than you are now.